invite Ania Biejak, who will be moderator of this panel, and invite our speakers, Professor Zbigniew Krysiak, Professor Tomasz Grosse, and Dr. Andrius Sparkis. Ania, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
This is up to you.
We did very well tonight. Very well. I would like to welcome our guests, Professor Zbigniew Krysiak, Professor Andrius Sparkis, and Professor Tomasz Grosse. The first question will be to Professor Zbigniew Krysiak. I would like to ask you about the superstate, because we are observing the completion of the German project of building a superstate. How much and in what areas will it threaten to the development of the Free Seas initiative?
I think it's worth to explain what is the superstate. So, what are the directions the people who like, to create a superstate? So, first of all, as you notice on these roll-ups, there is some sentence expressed by Robert Schuman saying that we don't like the superstate to be created. We like, Schuman said, to keep that, a tradition of the states, of the nations, their diversity, their culture, their own institutions, so just to keep their own homes, how they created. So the superstate is going to destroy the homes. If you have a home, right, and if somebody is approaching you and trying to destroy your home, what you do, you just defend it, right? Because the shape and the basically outfit of your home is coming from your mentality, from your culture, from your style, from your personality. Okay, so you just express the arrangement of your home by that what you feel, what you are as a spiritual, and as well what is your personality in fact. So this is quite clear. Everybody be asked, do you like to destroy your home and just create a one big building where everybody, all people are just under the same roof? So the uniform, the superstate is uniform. So if we ask the ladies being in that room, if, for instance, trying to dress all ladies in the same outfit, the same dresses, you will react very negatively. And you say, no, I just would like to arrange my dress in the way I like. So the superstate is going to remove institutions. We have our parliaments, our basically institutions related to different areas of our activity, institutions related to the activity of the government. So the superstate is going to move the centralized government to the, let's say simply, to the Brussels. This is a superstate. And the superstate is just arriving from the ideology of Artiello Spinelli, who had presented Manifestos from Ventotene before the Second World War. And nowadays, if you look in the proposal of a new treaty, European Union treaty, there is a copy of the Manifestos from Ventotene. So I have explained what is the superstate, and I am not going to ask all of you or everybody, do you like superstate, or you're just own home you live currently? So if you ask about the danger for a community of Trimarian nations, is going to basically remove culture, tradition of all our nations. So then we would not recognize anymore this region, this Trimarium. We can basically realize that this entire region of Europe will be just a region where kind of economy is going around, just people are educated, people are, working, but no differences between particularly each nation. So it's a kind of a communism where what is most dangerous, just after removing the sole specifics of our nations, that we as well not be asked for the decisions. Okay? So, for instance, Professor Margit Klittenburg, right, will be ordered to come with in a suit on a Friday, ordered by a school or by the Brussels. Okay, so no decisions to be made, no regional or local governments. So not only removing the central government but the regional. So you could imagine you are just like in a prison. Okay, so I think after saying this, we don't need to. We are very intelligent people, so we don't need, to explain more what would be the consequences. So basically, all of us who experience, understand and know the history of this region, where we've been under the regime of Soviet Union, right? We understand what is, how this is a danger for us, and how it is not, expected to happen. And I think a very important difference between a regime under the Soviet Union communism and the superstate is that in the Soviet Union regime, this was an ideology, combined with a force. You were in prison, you suffered. We knew who is on each side. Okay, we were very aware about who is on which side. So we have a professor from Georgia. Thank you for your arriving. And in Georgia, currently, the government is Georgia, right? Government is basically influenced very much indeed by the KGB, by the Russian government, in fact. So they are now fighting, still something arrived, these issues which were many decades before. So, but in the super state, there is ideology combined with a capital. So, and we are not able to recognize who is on which side. This is difficult to diagnose, right? So, ideology combined with capital is more dangerous, because you may be emptied by capital. So if you will not behave like the central government in a super state in the Brussels is ordering or just asking you to do, you may lose the capital. Okay, so that is a kind of a very much active oligarchic, activity. Like a friend from Georgia, we talked in the break. He said that the oligarchy is what is basically influenced by Russians, by the KGB. And the oligarchy is just basically due to their attractiveness, their interest in the business, in the capital. They do not take care about the value, about the wealth of nations, people, and they cooperate as a rich people with the government. So this super state will be, the government will be very much indeed combined with activity of government rich people. Like, 2-3 years ago, we organized a conference with some society of the businesses in Berlin. And what they said, this small and medium enterprises, they said that they are very much depressed by the German government, because the German government is basically promoting big corporations and enterprises, not only the German, but the international. And these small and medium enterprises are very much neglected. So this is this kind of observations and outcomes of that signs of a super state we are able to notice as already today.
Thank you very much, Professor. And the next question is to Professor Sfantis. We can all agree, I guess, that 3Cs initiative is the cooperation and the community. And in this context, is there any possibility for 3Cs initiative to become a model for the European Union, a model of development?
Thank you for inviting me here. But actually the question is very difficult and I'm not ready to answer to such a question. I would like to speak more about the original topic of our section about the sovereignty of nation states. But actually all the political alliances or the projects for the future cooperation as 3Cs initiative seeks to establish, they actually faces the same burden or challenge as the professor has just spoken, that is all the super state or bigger political constellations, they must be grounded, they must be rooted in they must reflect local problems, local people's representation. And this is exactly the problem of the European Union. European Union institutions went too far, in my opinion, and not just in mine, but in many political scientists as well, went too far from local level. I mean, all these problems associated with democratic deficit with the European Union. Probably the auditorium is familiar with democratic deficit topic. Have you heard about this topic, people? Democratic deficit of the EU. It's very long-standing problem. It came to their political agenda as the hottest issue in the 90s, associated with the Treaty of the Maastricht, the establishment of the EU in the 1992-93. But actually, European integration since the beginning was the elite-driven project. Alex Varley, French origin scientist, even calls it that it was never democratic. European integration was never democratic. It's not my test. It's the French political science. And it's difficult to disagree. We must agree with it. And actually, the principle of subsidiarity was introduced into European Union law as the reminder for EU institutions to respect local level. Local level. You cannot escape the principle of political representation. Professor from America and Slovakia correctly mentioned Alexis de Tocqueville, who wrote the book about democracy in the United States. What was the conclusion by him? Where American democracy had the roots in his eyes? And the answer is the same: local communities. Local communities, he said. So be it Free Seas Initiative, as your question states, be it European Union, be it United States of America, all the big political settings, all the big political governance system must face the same problem. How deeply, how authentically they reflect local political interest, cultural interest, you know? It is the classical democratical test. And European Union, since the beginning, lacks it. And I don't know whether you are familiar with the concept of permissive consensus. When Treaty of Maastricht came into force, again, 1993, numerous political scientific conferences started to be organized. Numerous. European identity came into agenda as the problem number one. Because everybody understood, with Maastricht Treaty, European Union becoming or making attempt to become a federal state with the ambition to become a super state in the nearest future. And this raised the democratic problem. And the answer was that until Maastricht Treaty, people were not involved in the creation of the European institutions, European communities, right? But they let them to be created. So permissive consensus was evident, was visible, was working. But with the process of Maastricht Treaty ratification, you remember how difficult Maastricht Treaty was ratified in Denmark, in France, in Spain, everywhere. It was first time in European integration, European project was challenged by the people. People first time came out on the scene and told, we do not understand anymore what's going on. You know, so permissive consensus has ended. Okay? In the 90s. And the problem still remains the same. How much, how deeply, how respectfully do European institutions reflect the needs of the local people, of the member states, of the nation states? So this problem is very deeply rooted, my first short conclusion, very deeply rooted in the essence
of the European integration. It hasn't come just recently. Okay? Second issue was that subsidiarity principle coming from Middle Ages always reflected democratic ideal that political governance, whatever kind of political governance, must face the representation of local communities. If you lose this link, you will get problems. You will get political problems. No one political rule can be sustained for a long term without political representation. Alexis de Tocqueville said. So, and the third, my conclusion or answer to your question, the same goes with Free Seas initiative. If this forum, I mean Free Seas initiative, will find such perfect formula, political formula, to reflect and to combine and to represent each participated country's needs, it will be successful. But to do so, you know, we automatically jumping into the discussion of the second panel, I guess, where the problem of money was raised. Whether enough just European funds, you know, whether enough to find additional money to finance our economical, you know, infrastructural projects. Maybe it's enough, so maybe not. If you want to have the sustainability in political, institutional development, as European Union wants and always wanted to be sustainable, to get people's representation, therefore European Parliament was invented, the direct popular voting for European Parliament was introduced in 1979, right? So they always wanted it. So if Free Sea Initiative also wants to become a sort of, you know, setting of political institution, it will automatically face the same political legitimacy problems. But I think it is too early to speak about it, because it is just in the first steps, right? In children age, not in the adult age. So it's too early to think or to consider a democratic problem. So the next would be that successful management of different interests. Some interests, as the ambassador perfectly showed in the slides, in her speech, some interests are common, infrastructural interests, railways, you know, paths, roads, etc. So maybe focusing on the common interests, which basically are of the economical origin, it would be the formula of success. Because if you trespass economical interest and you want to pretend to go beyond towards to creation psychological identity community, as neo-functionalists Ernst Haas was speaking in the 50s, you will have democratical legitimacy problem as European Union faces. So maybe it is time to remind European Union, let's be in the rhetoric very brave, to remind its economical origin, because it started as the economical free market sustainability project, you know, free freedoms, free flow of goods, capital, services and people. Of course, it would then you have problem, this long-standing problem. You cannot fall in love with free market, as Jacques Delors famously said. You cannot fall in love with free market. If you want to have loyalty by the people, you must create sort of identity. And European Union lacks it and will lack it because they lack political representation of the local communities. Because political representation of local communities belongs to the nation states. democratical system works. With faults, not perfectly, with populistic slogans and politics, but still it is working. So again, and I'm finishing, as far as it goes just to pure economic projects, it might be successful. As far as it goes to the political system formation, which is not prognosable in the foreseeable future, but still, we are thinking comparable with the EU, right? If it trespasses, goes beyond to over the economical needs, it will face the same legitimacy problem as the EU. Sorry for being so long.
Maybe one of the explanations of the problem you have described is that in European Union we have full deconstruction. I mean, like in Derrida writings, we have the deconstruction on all levels, from the state level up to the European Union level. And my question is to Professor Tomasz Grzegorz-Grosse, who is an expert from Derrida. Please tell me, am I right, or we have more processes in this case?
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Secondly, it is of course a very interesting question about disintegration tendencies in the current project of regional integration in Europe. It is quite visible that we have at least a couple of very important projects which are derailed and instead of having some paving the way to prosperous Europe, direct current European project into mess, I would say. We mentioned many times that, for instance, creation of European identity based on unrooting traditional national values or Christian values, instead of them imposing some left-wing, modernist, communist values. It is a socio-technical project, social engineering project, which should create a new European and a new European nation, people. And instead of that, it leads to many tensions, destabilizations, and this kind of problems. So it is quite obvious example that it is very difficult to create a European nation around left-wing liberal values, and at the same time removing the traditional values, which should be a natural foundation of Europeans. So the second fold project is, in my view, migration policy. I have no time to explain this in more details, but it is related to European identity because massive influx of migrants was perceived by European elites as a way to create new European nation or new Europeans. But in my view, it is very difficult such a producing cohesive identity or community from multicultural ingredients. So it is in my view very difficult idea. Another project which is in my view rather leading to disaster than to creation of stronger Europe. The next one is two economic projects, Euro and climate policy. Unfortunately, I have no time to explain in details why I perceive that those projects as another failures from the point of strengthening European integration. But it is quite visible that Eurozone is rather a reason for a variety of problems than for European Union than some important project which could strengthen integration. The same is with climate policy. We are at the beginning, but even if we read Draghi's report, the latest Draghi's report, it is quite obvious for me as a reader that even now climate policy, that kind of climate transition which was planned by the EU is leading to disaster from the point of view of competitiveness of European economy, the industrialization processes, outflow of investors from Europe, hesitation for others to invest in Europe, strengthening natural European competitors like Americans or Chinese entrepreneurs. So it is summing up even at the beginning of that process, disaster. So if we collect all those projects, it is quite obvious that it is a huge disappointment from the perspective of strengthening European integration. We observe contradictory results, not that projected, not that expected. What is the answer of current European elite? To strengthen the same. So, because centralization, giving the additional powers to current European elite, current European administration, current European judges, and at the same time strengthening two biggest nations, I mean the German and the French. It is for sure a recipe for quicker disaster. It is a recipe to catastrophe. But realized more quickly, because with better instruments. So, because the old problems described by me were created by the same political elite, the same political leadership, French, German, European officials, European judges. So strengthening the powers of those elite, it is a recipe for quicker disaster. And it is, by the way, I agree, a non-democratic way to produce the outcome. And the Schuman, at the beginning of European integration, proposed a quite different model from the point of view of democracy or democratic standards. More decentralized, more subsidiary, based on national democracies and national member states, not super-state structures. So it has quite different prospect or plan for European integration. The question is if we have any chances to change the pattern of current European integration, to come back to Schuman recipes. Current European elites propose quite opposite recipes, quite opposite proposals. As I said, it is a recipe for quicker disaster. It is the same elite, the same leadership, but with strengthened powers, which means that it is not only a problem for us, but very far from that proposals for European integration which Schuman admitted or proposed. So it is difficult to predict, but if the current trends would be strengthened, that project of European integration led by France and Germany and European technocracy could finish badly one day. And if somebody like we still believe in regional integration, successful regional integration, with some collaboration or with the Schuman ideas, we should be ready to implement such an ideas after that spectacular collapse of current European Union. So we have to prepare for that kind of disaster, to rebuild regional integration in Europe in that kind of direction which Schuman proposed. So it is in my view, maybe pessimistic, maybe optimistic, but realistic point of view on current stage of affairs. I'm pessimistic about current European Union, led by Western elites, unfortunately, and in my opinion it's difficult to change that pattern. Because in fact Schumann failed. Was buried. His ideas, his proposals completely failed in current stage of European integration. So I'm not optimistic, I'm pessimist as far as the current European integration processes is concerned. On the other hand, I'm still optimist because some hope is in our region, Central Europe. We have quite different political culture. We have still traditional values. We try to defend at least those values. And finally, we could propose some kind of Schumann, in fact, recipes for another stage of European integration. So it is my most important conclusion.
So I'm sorry, Anna. So I feel, that let me give a voice for audience, okay? So that, after the lunch, it's probably very tiring, that we are just talking, so just be some kind, not just to ask the questions, but, raise your voice about some certain context or anything you would like to talk about this, okay? So we get a bigger dynamic, that moment. Just, join to the discussion, not just the questions, but...
Thank you. I wanted to touch on what Professor from Lithuania said about the subsidiarity rule. And I think that in lots of situations, there came the problem because in many other countries and the government was not respecting the principle of subsidiarity. And I think that should be one of the focal points in the future and strengthening in the future. As Professor was saying, like in the United States, it's 80 to 90% of organization of United States, it's on the federal states. I think it should be, maybe not in that order, 80-90%, but at least that there should be a larger spectrum of responsibilities on the countries. So I wanted to agree on that topic with you.
So go ahead. So just make some, opposition.
Everybody agrees.
Can I sit?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. I can agree on the traditional values. I don't complain about that much. In Serbia, we, how can I say, cultivate the traditional values, and our country survived for the centuries because of traditional values. So I think the point is we need to somehow rebel against the new trends that comes from the West, as it's called neoliberalism. So the neoliberalism, I think it's a cause of ruining the traditional values, and they interfere into our choice. So they somehow want their own opinion, and I can agree with Professor also that we need to cultivate traditional values, no matter what countries, no matter what languages do we speak. So yeah, that's all I can say about it. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here, and it's a honor for me to talk to you. I'm from Georgia, and most of you already know me. When we are talking about the traditions, right now I wanted to mention Georgia. Most of people are saying that Georgia is so traditional. Georgian people are really traditional. We love tradition. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So, Georgian people are really traditional, we love traditions, but when we are saying that we need to bring these traditions, bring our culture in our politics, we must be doing it really and not like the right now, the ruling party of Georgia is doing. Because right now, the ruling party in Georgia is saying that we are traditional, we are embracing our traditions, we are embracing our pride, or we are decent, but in reality, the facts are telling us otherwise. In Georgia, many things, for example, abortion is allowed, not only abortion, childs can be sold. Can you imagine? So when a woman is giving a birth to a child, this child can be sold without a problem. And there is no problem. There is no problem. Government isn't working to solve this problem. Okay? So at the same time, they are saying that the traditions are important. They are doing everything for traditions. They are also pointing at EU that, hey, look at the EU, they are against the traditions and we want to keep our traditions. So right now we are trying to be as far as possible from the EU and instead we are trying to be friends with Russia. They are telling this way, but with their actions, this is what they are doing. But at the same time, they are worse at defending traditions than the EU. This is what I wanted to say. Sorry.
So, Professor, yes. No, no, no.
Thank you very much for your informative talks. I would just like to say that I found everything you said very interesting and I agree with them. I was just wondering if you have any comments on, okay, so we have a reality. We can be very negative about this reality that we face now in Europe in terms of European Union and its policies and politics today. But I was wondering if you have some opinions on reform of the European Union in a way that could bring it back to Schumann's idea. For example, the Commission. Would direct election by European people of commissioners, would that be a solution? Or what about the European Parliament, some reforms? Could you just give your opinion on what structural reforms you might recommend for the Union itself that might lead us a little bit back toward the Schuman reality, the Schuman idea? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that last question. It is also related to some ideas presented by my colleague from Lithuania. First of all, answering the question, I would like to say that economic integration based on common market it was a good idea. It was quite safe content of integration processes. But I would like to add something to my Lithuanian colleague, which is related to economic integration at the beginning of the first phase of European integration. It was not only liberal common market, but also it was some system for redistribution for weaker states and weaker regions, which was called regional policy and after then renamed for cohesion policy. So the combination of liberal common market and some protection for weaker states, for weaker regions, was a very good idea, very good recipe for success. For success. I agree that political integration leading to a centralized superstate was a failure from the point of view of democratic standards, as well from the point of view of centralized management of very ambitious but also ideologized projects, including economic projects. So centralization is a threat, answering the question. And we have some alternative pattern, proposed by Schuman. Decentralized system, subsidiary system, based on nations and national democracies. So it is alternative vision of European integration. But centralization leads to destabilization, consecutive crisis and problems. How to preserve the Europe against the centralized pattern is very difficult, almost impossible, because majority of decision makers in Western Europe support even further, deeper centralization. So it is almost impossible project. But for instance, we have to curb competences, powers of European Commission. We have to curb European judges, the powers of Court of Justice of the EU. We have to constrain the so-called competence creep processes. We have to impose some institutions for monitoring or controlling the rule of law, but not by national administrations or member states, but rule of law of European institutions. It is particularly important because the current process of centralization is based on consecutive, constant breaching of current treaties. In the name of further European integration, they breach, violate rule of law in Europe. And it is perceived by Western Europe as a positive factor, as a positive phenomenon. So we have provide a lot of solutions, but you can see that even one of them is almost impossible to implement because of huge opposition in current political environment.
No, I'm going to the opposite to that, what you said. In a certain reality, Professor Reichert said, yes, we have reality. Then in that reality, what we can improve. So, I mean, a voting commission is a very right proposal. So, let's say we have a few candidates for the commissionary, like Ursula von der Leyen was elected, in not democratic way. Some guys just agreed she is going to be a commissioner Okay, it's not democratic way. So your professor's suggestion for election of a commissioner, so a few candidates, I am sure that the decision of the nations, elections, European-wide election would lead to the will improve the quality and bring better candidates. So this is I support that, and this is possible. This is not impossible, Professor Grosse. Okay, so we have a new generation. We are here, Schumann Primarium Forum. We would like, to challenge a new generation, like nice ladies and, students sitting here. Probably the old dinosaurs like me are lost, but you are the future. So it means the Soviet Union existed 70 years and bankrupt. So this outlook of the European Union shouldn't be and will be not forever. Okay? And I agree with such a approach. What in this reality we can change? And this is possible. Okay? Because, do not say impossible, because, it's not, we would like, to basically, send a positive message to the young audience, right? And as well, to elect what I would suggest as a next, not to have 700 European deputies, but just 100, and this 100 should be just advisors. So the European Commission shouldn't be a government who imposes on you many things, but should be the executive body, okay? Executive body according to that what is agreed between nations, between the leaders. If we speak about the influence of that region, Primarium region, then of course we have challenge to integrate together, to get together and try to implement that election of the commissioner. So I'm sure if we will have a few candidates at the last decision where Ursula von der Leyen was elected, and if all Europeans would vote, I'm sure she wouldn't be at this chair. Because, there would be a chance to deliver 27 candidates from each country, right? So there will be a wide choice. As I heard, from some Swedish people, they do not know their deputies. They don't know what they do. And the deputies basically in Sweden, as well, they do not have a strong relation with their citizens. This is a big discrepancy. So I'm sure, Professor Reicher, if the many decisions of the voting of important positions in the European Union would be brought into the hands of all citizens of Europe, we would have today improvement, adjustment in that reality. We would not change much, but a little bit, slowly, step by step. And after getting that positive outcome, it would challenge us to the next steps. That is the right approach, because you never change everything, and you never change everything at the 1 day, 1 year revolutionary, okay? So, but we have to be open-minded, thinking about that everything is possible. The question is how, with which speed, and how we can, integrate, and how we can attract the people and certain powers and forces, to implement that. So, thank you. Do you think I am right? So, it's somebody is going
Let's
to
vote. Okay, it's a very interesting discussion started, but I'm wondering whether we have time, I would like just to add a few remarks. Professors from America, sorry, I don't know exactly the name, but proposals, actually, they are not coming. These proposals, how to reform European Union institutions, are not new. Let's look to the history of European integration, and you will see many proposals already were debated and discussed. One of them, okay, we may summarize, short remark, we may summarize all of them into two directions. One direction was exactly as you proposed it, you both actually, because you joined.
But it is new proposal.
European Commission is new, but it fits to the general pattern. It's how to
proposal. But election, this proposal of election a commissioner.
Yes, it is tradition of
never was on the table. No, never was on the table.
But for how to strengthen European Parliament, it was on the table for many years.
For many years.
So for one direction,
about the commissioner.
yes, but
For many years,
was
it is. For many years, it was all proposal.
okay, people. So two directions of many proposals. One direction, one set of proposals exactly goes like this. If it is new, it's okay, but it fits to the general, the same kind of proposals. How to democratize European Union institutions. Let's make them more democratic. That was the slogan. And many attempts were made to do such thing. Starting with cultural policy, introducing cultural policy in the 70s and 80s. Adonino Committee report, the People's Europe. Your proposal totally fits to the People's Europe idea. How to bring more and more people to on the level of European politics to strengthen democracy of the European Union. It fits. Maybe it is new, this concrete, but actually it fits to the general. And this kind of proposals, let's make more elections. Let's elect European Commission President. Let's elect the judges, justices of the European Court of Justices. Let's elect the President of the European Central Bank. Let's expand all your arguments, So these kind of proposals were known for the decades. How to make European Union institutions more democratic. All of them failed. All of them failed. And this is not like criticism or pessimistic. No, I am just referring to the old debate about two directives, how to make reform. So one was to make more democratic, another was, very interesting, by the way, this another set of proposals were coming not from the European scientists and politicians, but from the American political scientists, such as the Andrew Moravcik, for example, or Italian Giandomenico Maggioni. What they told? They told, do not make such democratization attempt. They will fail. Why? Because the more democracy you bring, I am not presenting my argument, I'm presenting this American school argument, let's say. Because the more you present democracy in the European Union, the more it will resemble the features of the nation state, and the more will be, political war, as we see in the national parliaments regarding redistribution. For example, let's make stronger European political parties. Because now European Parliament is elected not from European political parties, but from national political parties. Do you agree? Of course, 100%. There are no any single European party. It is national European parties, and we are selecting from them, right? In the national election. So, the more democratically you go on the European Union, the deeper legitimacy problem you will have. Because this would create political tensions the same kind as we see in the national government. Take Dutch example, how it is difficult to form government. Take French example for Macron, how it is difficult to form. So we will have the same kind of problem on the European level. It would disturb European Union's function, argument goes finally. Therefore they say, don't trouble it, okay? Don't make additional problems to the EU. So what is their another campus proposal? Functional proposal. Don't make attempt to democratize EU, let remain it on the effective governance of the free market. Focus on free market. Gendeminiko mažonė idea on regulatory state. European Union as the regulatory state. It is not a state, it is just like a rhetoric figure, you know. Regulatory function. Regulate effectively market because it is effective. It is not burdened about bureaucracy, it is quite easygoing, and the most important, it benefits everybody. It benefits each member state. And do you remember about the most difficult debates within EU integration through history? The easiest debates were based on the economics. No one vitally were against economical proposals. Charles de Gaulle anti-Czech crisis was not on the economics, was not on the political dialogue. Okay? So this school of thought in the European integration history is focused on the effective economical regulation which benefits everybody, mostly benefit. And Poland would agree also, Lithuania agrees also, that we receive plenty of benefits from common market regulation, including the cohesion funds.
No, we didn't.
Okay, but I'm presenting these two kinds of arguments.
Asymmetry.
Okay.
So we wrote a report with the Professor Grosset. There is a big asymmetry, not only for the Poland, big asymmetry
in economic, you know, distribution of the wealth, not only for the Poland, but for our entire region. And there is a huge asymmetry. So just one word. Professor Grosset today said the impact of the geopolitics on the economy. And this is what we are talking about now. What you raised is, you know, electing the commissioner. This is a geopolitics. And this has impact on the economy. And I disagree with you. Because if the geopolitics has impact on the economy, so there is a correlation. So if you do not change the geopolitics, you will not be able to manage and change the economy.
My concluding remarks, thank you. It is absolutely very interesting and crucial topic of our discussion at the end of our panel. I admire Professor Krysiak and your suggestion because to democratize European institutions. In my view, it is very noble proposals, but I'm worried that it might fail during implementation process because it is quite old proposals to increase democratization in the EU in the way to federalize EU structure in a similar way to the US. So I read at least 10 years ago exactly the same proposals in European documents. The same proposals are going to strengthen the European Parliament, for instance, as a democratic chamber, which should be more powerful, which should lead as a true democratic chamber to the EU. It is, as I mentioned, very noble proposals, but during implementation, it is always a problem that they lead to superstate, to centralization with very limited democratic impact on Brussels administration, etc. So we can see current European Parliament. It is democratic institution, but it is strongly ideologized.
It is democratic.
Of course, but to strengthen powers, powers of European Parliament, it is good solution or bad? In my view, it is bad.
No, but
Because in fact,
it
European
isn't democratic. It isn't democratic, but we would like to be more democratic. So
my experience, I have no time to explain in details, but my experience is that federal solutions like direct election of European Commission, direct election of representative of the head of European Commission, or strengthening the powers of European Parliament. It is democratic, federal solutions. Always are implemented against democratic standards. In reality, to strengthen, to only legitimize superstate led by very narrow elite, Brussels elite, which is very far from citizens, very far, in fact, in reality, from democratic standards.
Thank you very much, Professor.
No, ale to właśnie o to chodzi.
Time is out, so we have to finish the discussion. I invite you to Wars, so
To continue.
Thank you very much. We all agree that it's time to coffee break, 10 minutes.
I agree with you.
more excited.
To zrobiła pewnie, że nas pani tak rozkręciła. No nie no, kobiety to jednak potrafią.